The clock on the hospital wall reads 1:41 a.m. when my world splits open. I stand frozen in the fluorescent-lit corridor of Memorial General's third floor, my knees suddenly hollow, my phone trembling in my hand. Jasper's voice is lightly slurred, intimate confessional echoes through my earbuds. Bryn, I don't know what to do anymore. I press my back against the wall. Room 312's call bell chimes insistently down the hall, but I can't move, can't breathe. Can't do anything except listen to my fiancé's voice crack through the tiny speakers pressed against my ears. The wedding's in 6 weeks, and I wake up every morning feeling trapped. A heavy sigh follows, then the unmistakable sound of ice cubes clinking against glass. Lola's reliable. She'll make a good mom someday, but there's no spark, you know. Never really was. My free hand flies to my mouth, pressing hard enough to bruise. Somewhere in the distance, the call bell rings more urgently. My body registers it as something I should care about, but it's happening in another universe now. Sometimes I still think about Leora. Jasper continues, his voice dropping lower. What might have happened if she hadn't moved to Seattle? With Lola, I fake it most of the time. The words hit like physical blows. Fake it. Fake it. The fluorescent lights above me suddenly seem harsh, exposing. I reach for the wall to steady myself, my engagement ring catching the light. A diamond-bright mockery. This morning, was it really just 14 hours ago? I kissed him goodbye, his coffee already poured in his favorite mug. The wedding planning folder sat on our kitchen counter, stuffed with venue brochures and catering menus. During my lunch break, I picked up 3 bridal magazines, their glossy covers promising perfect days, perfect lives. Merritt, you okay? Sarah's voice cuts through my haze. I look up to find my fellow nurse watching me, concern creasing her forehead. I straighten, yanking the earbuds from my ears as if they've burned me. Fine. I manage, my voice coming from somewhere outside myself. Just checking a message. Mr. Harmon's been hitting his call button for 5 minutes, she says, her eyes narrowing slightly. Everything all right? I nod, pocketing my phone. Sorry. On my way. For the next 6 hours, I move through my rounds like a ghost in nurse's scrubs. Check vitals. Adjust IV drips. Dispense medications. My body performs each task with practiced precision while my mind replays Jasper's words on endless loop. Reliable. No spark. Fake it most of the time. Mr. Harmon complains about his breakfast. Mrs. Weber needs help to the bathroom. The new admission in 309 has questions about her medication. I smile, explain, assistal, while feeling like I'm watching myself from across the room. My phone buzzes in my pocket at 7:17 a.m. Then again at 7:22. By 8 o'clock, it's vibrated 5 times. I don't need to look to know it's Jasper, realizing his mistake, attempting damage control. When I finally check during my break, the text messages confirm it. Babe, I need to talk to you. Call me when you get this. Lola, please. I was just drunk. Babe, I was just drunk. Call me. It wasn't what it sounded like. I silence my phone, sliding it back into my pocket. The morning stretches endlessly before me, filled with call bells and medication rounds and vital signs, the comforting rhythm of responsibilities I know how to fulfill. Unlike loving Jasper, which I apparently never did correctly. Afternoon breaks as my shift finally ends. In the locker room, I change mechanically, avoiding my reflection in the mirror. Outside, the hospital parking lot is quiet. I sit in my car, keys in hand, and finally let the tears come. I think about the signs I've ignored for months, maybe years. The way his eyes drift when I talk about our future. How our kisses have grown briefer, more perfunctory. The subtle flinch when I touch him unexpectedly. The way he pulls back during intimacy, going through motions without truly being present. Instead of starting the engine, I stare at my phone. 3 more messages have arrived. More explanations, more excuses. My thumb hovers over the call button, but something stops me. Not yet. I need to let this truth settle into my bones first. Each morning for 3 years, I've driven past Wildflower Gardens, the wedding venue we booked 6 months ago. Today, it looks different, a mirage shimmering in the early morning light, beautiful but insubstantial. I used to slow down to admire it. Today, I press the accelerator and drive past without a glance. Outside our apartment building 30 minutes later, I sit with the engine off, watching the sunrise paint our bedroom window gold. Inside, Jasper is waiting, rehearsing explanations. perhaps believing I'll accept whatever story he offers, because that's what reliable, practical Lola always does. Tears stream freely now, dripping onto my scrub pants, creating small dark circles on the faded blue fabric. For the first time in our relationship, I don't rush to wipe them away. The sun spills through our living room blinds, casting prison bar shadows across Jasper's face. He sits on the edge of our couch, the one we spent 3 weekends shopping for, his shoulders hunched, still wearing yesterday's wrinkled button-down. His eyes, rimmed red from what I assume is a sleepless night, follow me as I set my bag by the door. Lola. His voice cracks, hoarse and desperate. Thank God, I've been calling all night. I stand just inside the doorway, unwilling to step fully into what now feels like someone else's life. Our engagement photos stare down from the wall, two smiling strangers caught in a moment that never existed. I can explain? Jasper says, rising from the couch. It was just drunk talk, pre-wedding jitters. He crosses the room but stops when I take a step back. Every guy gets cold feet. My gaze drifts to our refrigerator where the wedding countdown calendar hangs. 47 days circled in bright red marker. 6 weeks and 5 days until I was supposed to walk down the aisle toward a man who has to fake his feelings for me. I want to hear it again. My voice surprises me with its steadiness. What? Jasper blinks. The voice memo. I want to hear all of it. Color drains from his face. Lola, it doesn't matter what I said. I was drunk and... If it doesn't matter, then you can play it for me. His hesitation tells me everything. When he finally pulls out his phone, his fingers tremble against the screen. I deleted it. Then we'll listen to the one on my phone. I pull it from my pocket, watching panic flash across his face. There's more, isn't there? The question hangs between us. Jasper sinks back onto the couch, head dropping into his hands. It wasn't the first message. The confession lands like a physical blow. I press my hand against the wall to steady myself. Show me. Reluctantly, he unlocks his phone and passes it to me. The message thread with Bryn stretches back months, his sister counseling him through doubts he never once shared with me. She deserves better than someone half-committed, Bryn had written 3 weeks ago. I know, but breaking it off now would devastate her, he'd replied. Each message burns through me, but I force myself to keep scrolling, to absorb every word of this betrayal, not just the drunken confession, but the sober, calculated deception that preceded it. I hand his phone back, suddenly feeling taller, stronger. Something crystallizes inside, me a clarity that cuts through months of fog. How long? I ask. Jasper looks up, confusion crossing his features. How long have you been settling for me? I haven't been. Don't. The word comes out sharp enough to make him flinch. At least have the decency to be honest now. My phone buzzes in my hand. A text from Aaron. My spare room is ready whenever you need it. The message unlocks a memory Aaron's concerned face over coffee 6 months ago. Are you sure he's as invested as you are? I'd dismissed her worries, convinced she was projecting her own relationship fears onto mine. I'd chosen Jasper's half-hearted reassurances over my best friend's genuine concern. The contrast hits me with stunning clarity. Since Leora moved, Jasper finally admits, his voice small. I tried to move on. I thought eventually I'd feel with you what I felt with her. I nod, absorbing this final confirmation of what I already knew. I'm going to pack some things. Lola, please. He stands, following me toward our bedroom. We can work through this. Couples therapy, postponing the wedding, whatever you need. I move mechanically through the room, pulling clothes from hangers, toiletries from drawers. Jasper's pleas shift between apologies and justifications, a desperate pendulum swing. It was one mistake, he insists as I zip my suitcase. It wasn't, I correct him, my voice calm. The mistake was pretending to love me the way I deserved. That wasn't one night. That was 3 years. In the bathroom, I remove my engagement ring, feeling the slight indentation it leaves behind. Back in the kitchen, I place it deliberately on the counter beside the coffee maker where he'll find it tomorrow morning. From my purse, I take out a notepad and pen. My hand doesn't shake as I write. I deserve someone who doesn't have to fake it. Jasper stands in the doorway watching me with dawning comprehension. Where will you go? Instead of answering, I pull out my phone and dial Erin's number. She answers on the first ring. I'm on my way, I say. Jasper makes one last attempt as I lift my suitcase. Lola, please don't throw away 3 years over one voice memo. I really look at him perhaps for the first time. Not at the man I wanted him to be, but at who he actually is. Someone who settled, who compromised, who never fully chose me. I'm not throwing away 3 years, I tell him. I'm saving the rest of my life. The sound of the door closing behind me echoes with finality. In the hallway of our apartment building, I take my first breath as someone who refuses to be anyone's second choice. 3 days later, the early morning light filters through unfamiliar curtains, casting gentle shadows across boxes stacked against the wall of Aaron's guest room. 3 days' worth of my hastily packed life sits in cardboard containers labeled with a black Sharpie: clothes, bathroom, books. I haven't unpacked beyond necessities, as if keeping everything boxed might somehow contain my grief. My phone buzzes against the nightstand. The calendar notification glows brightly. Wedding dress. Fitting 10 a.m. My stomach clenches. I'd forgotten to cancel the appointment. Another item for the growing list of things to dismantle. A soft knock at the door pulls me from the spiral of thoughts. "Brought you some tea," Erin says, pushing the door open with her hip, a steaming mug in each hand. Her red hair is pulled into a messy bun, her face free of makeup. She sets one mug on the nightstand and sinks onto the edge of the bed without saying more. This is why I love her. No empty platitudes, no forced cheer. Just presence. "Thanks," I whisper, wrapping my hands around the warm ceramic. Earl Grey with a splash of milk, she remembers how I take it. The small kindness brings tears to my eyes. "Bad night?" she asks, noticing the rumpled sheets. I nod. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice. I fake it most of the time, over and over. My sleep had been broken and fitful, dreams merging with memories until I wasn't sure which was which. In one, I stood in a wedding dress while Jasper recorded a voice memo to Bryn. In another, I was back in the hospital corridor, but this time everyone could hear the message playing through speakers overhead. "Your phone's been lighting up all morning," Erin says carefully. I glance at the screen. 17 text messages, 3 missed calls. I scroll through them without opening any. "Lola, please call me. We need to talk." "You're overreacting. It was just drunk talk." 3 years and you won't even hear me out? I deserve a chance to explain. You're throwing away everything over one mistake. The progression is striking from apologetic to accusatory in less than 72 hours. His final message lands like a slap. "This is exactly why I've been feeling trapped. You shut down instead of working through problems." "He's really something," Erin mutters, reading over my shoulder. I set the phone face down. "I should block him." "Probably," she agrees, but doesn't push. The doorbell rings, startling us both. Erin frowns. I'm not expecting anyone. When she returns minutes later, Bryn follows her into the bedroom. Jasper's sister looks terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She hovers in the doorway, uncertainty written across her face. "I'll give you two some privacy," Erin says, squeezing my shoulder as she leaves. "I'm sorry for showing up like this," Bryn says, perching awkwardly on the chair in the corner. "I've been trying to call, but I'm not really checking messages," I finish for her. Silence stretches between us. 3 days ago, this woman was going to be my sister-in-law. Now, we're strangers connected by betrayal. "He doesn't know I'm here," she finally says. I needed to see you." To explain his side? The bitterness in my voice surprises even me. She shakes her head, eyes filling with tears. "No, to apologize, and to tell you the truth, which is something my brother apparently couldn't do." What follows shatters the remaining pieces of my heart. Bryn speaks carefully, each word measured, as she reveals that Jasper's doubts weren't new or temporary. Since our first date, he'd compared me to Leora. I was steady where she was exciting, reliable where she was unpredictable. He'd convinced himself these were good things, that he was making a mature choice. "He did care about you," Bryn insists, though the words bring no comfort. "He just settled." I finish for her. She doesn't deny it. After Bryn leaves, I sit among my boxes and make calls I never imagined making. Each vendor conversation follows the same pattern: their initial confusion, followed by awkward sympathy. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Miss Merritt." "No, I understand about the non-refundable deposit." "Yes, I'm certain. The wedding is cancelled." By the 4th call, my voice steadies. By the 8th, I'm almost numb. The caterer, the florist, The DJ, the venue, the photographer, the officiant. 3 years of relationship and 6 months of planning, dismantled in 47 minutes. The financial reality is sobering, nearly $7,000 in lost deposits. But as I make the final call, a strange sense of relief washes over me. Each cancellation feels like cutting a thread that bound me to a future built on lies. My phone pings with new messages as news spreads, friends expressing shock and offering support. My mother's confused voicemail asking if this is just cold feet. My sister's fierce loyalty. He never deserved you anyway. The afternoon stretches before me, empty of plans for the first time in months. Without conscious decision, I open my laptop and navigate to the hospital's internal job board. The nurse shift coordinator position is still open, the one I'd considered applying for last year, before Jasper mentioned wanting to try for a promotion that would require longer hours from him. Someone else can take it, I'd said then. Your career is hitting such an important phase. I hadn't even realized I was putting his ambitions before mine until this moment. I update my resume with fierce concentration, no longer pausing to consider how each career move might affect our shared schedule. When I hit submit, something uncurls inside my chest, a quiet pride in my own capabilities that has nothing to do with anyone else. My phone rings 20 minutes later. It's Gloria from HR. Lola, just saw your application come through. Any chance you're free for an interview tomorrow morning? The director's been hoping you'd apply. Tomorrow? I repeat, surprised by the quick response. We've had other applicants, but honestly, we've been waiting for you to step up. You're already informally doing half the job anyway. After we set the time, I sit in stunned silence. They'd been waiting for me to step up. All this time, I'd been dimming my own light, convinced it was necessary for our relationship to work. The next day brings unexpected allies. Sarah from the night shift texts to say she'll cover my weekend shifts if I need time. The charge nurse leaves sticky notes of encouragement in my locker. My supervisor corners me in the break room to say, "Whatever you need, just ask." Each night, Erin sits with me through tears and rage and confusion. She passes tissues without comment and refills wine glasses without judgment. When I apologize for being a mess, she cuts me off. You showed up for 2 weeks when Mike left me. This is what friends do. On my first day back at work, Mrs. Abernathy, an 83-year-old patient recovering from hip surgery, notices my ring finger is bare. "Wedding's off?" she asks bluntly when I check her vitals. I nod, expecting the usual sympathy. Instead, she pats my hand. "Good for you, honey. Better to find out now than 20 years and 3 kids later. I stayed with the wrong man for 42 years. You just dodged a bullet." 2 weeks after leaving Jasper, I realize I've developed new routines. Coffee on Erin's balcony before work, yoga videos in the evening, journal writing before bed. Small rituals that belong solely to me, not shaped around another person's preferences or schedule. I still cry sometimes. I still check my phone for messages I've resolved not to answer. But each day, the weight lifts a little more, and beneath the sadness, something new and fragile takes root, the first green shoots of a life that is entirely my own. A month later, the apartment key feels impossibly heavy in my palm as I follow the property manager through the doorway. Sunlight streams through uncovered windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. At 750 square feet, the one-bedroom unit is half the size of what Jasper and I shared, but it's 3 blocks from Memorial General, close enough to walk on good days. Kitchen's original from the 80s. The manager says, gesturing toward avocado-colored countertops and white appliances bearing mysterious stains. Owner's thinking of updating eventually, but rent stays lower this way. I run my fingers along the laminate surface, feeling each nick and scratch. Our old kitchen gleamed with stainless steel and granite, a showroom fantasy Jasper insisted on. This worn space with its battle scars feels honest in a way our perfect kitchen never did. "I'll take it," I say, the words escaping before I fully considered them. 20 minutes later, I sign my name Lola Merritt, just Lola Merritt in the lease agreement. My signature looks smaller than usual, hesitant on the empty line where a second name should be. The property manager slides the keys across the desk, and I close my fingers around them. Terror and exhilaration battle in my chest, my heart fluttering like a trapped bird. For the first time in years, no one else's opinion factored into my decision. The thought leaves me breathless. "Congratulations," the manager says. "It's all yours." All mine. The phrase follows me around the empty apartment as I measure windows for curtains, pacing out furniture arrangements in my head. All mine to fill. All mine to afford. All mine to come home to. The emptiness echoes my footsteps back to me. 2 days later, Jasper appears in the hospital lobby, a bouquet of stargazer lilies almost obscuring his face. My favorite flower's a detail that feels manipulative now. From behind the nurse's station, I watch him charm the receptionist, his shoulders relaxed as if this is a casual visit rather than an ambush. "Your fiancé's here," Sarah whispers, the word fiancé striking like a slap. "I haven't told everyone yet." "He's not my fiancé anymore," I say, the word still foreign on my tongue. "Can you tell him I'm with a patient?" I slip into the staff bathroom, counting breaths until my pulse steadies. When I return 20 minutes later, the lilies sit abandoned at the desk. Sarah shoots me a sympathetic look. "He said he'll catch you another time," seemed pretty sure about it. The next morning, Ryan texts that he ran into Jasper at the gym, totally random, but he asked about you. 2 days after that, Melissa mentions a coffee shop encounter where Jasper looked absolutely heartbroken. The staged coincidences pile up like the spring pollen coating my windshield each morning, impossible to ignore. Increasingly irritating. Then comes the Tuesday evening call from Eleanor Hale, Jasper's mother, her voice wavering with practiced vulnerability. "Marriage isn't always easy, sweetheart," she says, as if I've simply hit a rough patch rather than discovered a fundamental deception. "Jim and I went through terrible times before our 30th anniversary." I press my phone harder against my ear, willing myself to remain silent as she continues. "Everyone has doubts sometimes, cold feet. Your generation gives up too easily when things get hard. With all due respect," I finally say, my voice steadier than I feel, "your son told another woman he's been faking his feelings for me. That's not cold feet, that's a frozen heart." The line goes silent before Eleanor recovers. People say things they don't mean when they're stressed. I think of the voice memo, Jasper's unguarded, slightly drunk confession. Nothing about it sounded stressed or uncertain. It sounded like relief at finally speaking his truth. When Jasper's email arrives the next day with the subject line, "We can fix this if you just try," something hardens inside me. The message details couples therapists he's researched, articles about knee-jerk breakups, and a closing plea. "We've invested 3 years. Don't throw it all away without even trying." I stare at those words, "if you just try," as if the breakdown of our relationship were solely my responsibility, as if I hadn't spent years trying while he'd been faking it. That night, I draft careful responses to mutual friends, polite but firm. "I appreciate your concern, but I need space right now." To the more persistent ones, "I understand Jasper is your friend too, but please respect my request for distance." Aaron helps me pack the last of Jasper's belongings into neatly labeled boxes. His coffee mugs, his books, the framed concert tickets from our second date. Items that once felt precious now feel like artifacts from someone else's life. "I'll drop these off tomorrow," Aaron says, sealing the final box with packing tape. "You don't need to see him." I close my social media accounts the same day, not ready to witness the public performance of Jasper's broken heart. The silence that follows feels like the first deep breath after swimming underwater too long. When the promotion offer comes nurse shift coordinator, with a significant pay increase, I nearly drop my phone. I'd applied weeks ago, before everything collapsed, never expecting to be chosen. Jasper's text arrives minutes after I share the news with my parents. "You never mentioned wanting that role." My thumbs hover over the screen before typing, "You never asked what I wanted." The realization strikes me then, clear as the hospital's code blue alarm, how many parts of myself I'd folded away to fit into the spaces Jasper allowed. How I'd learned to dim my ambitions when they outshone his, to speak more softly when my voice carried farther. 3 weeks later, I spot Jasper at Antonio's Italian bistro. He sits across from a slender woman with copper hair, leaning forward, completely engaged. Something familiar about his posture, the tilt of his head, the animated hands. This is Jasper, fully present, fully himself, something I'd glimpsed only in our earliest days. Our eyes meet across the restaurant. Guilt flashes across his face before he can mask it. But what surprises me most is my own reaction, not jealousy or pain, but a calm certainty. Confirmation that what we had wasn't worth salvaging. I offer a simple nod, a goodbye without words, and turn back to my meal. For the first time since the voice memo shattered my world, I feel not broken but beginning. 3 weeks later, the coffee shop buzzes with afternoon energy, a place Jasper and I have never been together. I chose it deliberately neutral territory, 16 miles from our old apartment, far enough from the hospital that I won't run into colleagues. Through the window, I watch him arrive, checking his reflection in his car window before entering. Classic Jasper, always concerned with appearances. I touch the neckline of my burgundy blue snoo, purchased with my first shift coordinator paycheck. My hair falls in loose waves instead of my usual practical ponytail. The woman in the restroom mirror earlier looked like a stranger, someone stronger than the Lola who existed before everything. Jasper spots me in the corner booth and freezes momentarily. His eyes widen, taking in the changes, not just the clothes or hair, but something else he can't quite name. Something in my posture, perhaps. Something in my eyes. "You look different," he says, sliding into the booth across from me. I am different. I wrap my hands around my coffee mug, anchoring myself to its warmth. His fingers tap an erratic rhythm against his cup. He's rehearsed this conversation. I can see it in the careful arrangement of his expression, concerned but hopeful. I've spent 3 years studying the nuances of his face. I know when he's performing. I've been thinking about what happened. He begins, voice modulated to hit that perfect note between remorseful and reasonable. It was cold feet, stress about the wedding expenses. People get scared before big commitments. I watch him build his case like he's presenting to clients. The coffee between us cools, untouched. I talk to my therapist. We can postpone the wedding, take couples counseling, whatever you need. His hand inches toward mine across the table. I broke things off with Rachel. That was nothing a mistake when I was confused. My eyebrow raises involuntarily. Rachel? The woman from the restaurant wasn't Leora? A flicker crosses his face, caught in a detail he didn't expect me to notice. He recovers quickly. That's what I'm saying. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I know that now. The old Lola would have softened here, grateful for crumbs of affection. The new Lola sits straighter. Do you still think about Leora? I ask, my voice steady despite the hammering in my chest. His hesitation lasts only seconds, but it might as well be a confession written across the sky. No, that was just drunk talk. Would you have told me about your doubts if I hadn't heard that message? The silence stretches between us, his answer clearer in what remains unsaid. Around us, life continues. Baristas call out orders. A child laughs at a nearby table. Someone's phone chimes with a notification. The world keeps turning while mine has changed its axis. We had good times, Jasper. My voice sounds different to my own ears, clearer, more certain. I'm grateful for them. But I can't build a life with someone who has to talk himself into loving me. That's not fair, he protests. Every relationship has ups and downs. You're throwing away 3 years over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern I chose not to see. I traced the rim of my mug. When you told Bryn you had to fake it with me, you were telling the truth. That's the problem. Your most honest moment wasn't with me. It was about me. You're being dramatic. Relationships take work. My parents have been married 40 years and I won't be someone's reliable option, Jasper. I won't be the practical choice, the good enough. I deserve someone who chooses me with their whole heart, not someone who settles for me because I'm safe. Something shifts in his expression then. The charming mask slips, revealing what lurks beneath irritation, then anger. His jaw tightens. You know what your problem is, Lola? You've been reading too many romance novels. Real life isn't some fairy tale. His voice hardens. You'll regret throwing away a good thing. Do you think it's easy to find someone at 30? With your schedule? I absorb the blow, letting the words settle into my bones. This is who he truly is. Someone who believes I should be grateful for the scraps of his affection. Someone who thinks I need him more than he needs me. There it is, I say quietly. The truth at last. I stand, placing exact change for my untouched coffee on the table. His eyes follow the movement, disbelief replacing anger. He expected me to crumble, to negotiate, to cling to what we had. Lola, wait. Being alone isn't what scares me. I meet his gaze directly. Settling is. I walk out of the coffee shop into the autumn sunshine. Each step feels like crossing a boundary into new territory, unmapped, uncertain, but undeniably mine. Behind me, through the window, Jasper remains frozen in the booth, his reflection growing smaller as I move forward. For the first time in 3 years, I breathe without waiting for someone else's approval. The air tastes different out here. It tastes like freedom. 3 months after the encounter, morning light streams through the east-facing windows of my apartment, casting golden rectangles across the freshly painted lavender walls. 3 months ago, this space was just empty rooms and bare walls. Now potted plants line my windowsills, African violets, unfurling purple blooms, a peace lily stretching toward the sun, and the stubborn spider plant I rescued from the hospital break room that now cascades over my bookshelf. I run my fingers over the smooth surface of my coffee mug, still marveling at how the smallest decisions now belong entirely to me. Simple things like choosing this particular shade of lavender for my walls when Jasper always insisted on practical beige feel like quiet acts of rebellion. Yesterday marked what would have been our wedding day. I waited for the tsunami of grief, braced myself for it, even kept the day clear just in case. But instead of devastation, I felt something unexpected: relief, tinged with a gentle sadness for the woman who once believed that love meant making yourself smaller. My phone chimes with a notification. Aaron has tagged me in photos from last weekend's staff picnic. I swipe through them, pausing at one of me laughing at something Dr. Friedman said, head thrown back, eyes crinkled. The woman in that photo isn't forcing a smile or posing carefully, she's just happy. The bell above the cafe door jingles as I enter, grateful for the blast of air conditioning after the humid June afternoon. I've just settled at a corner table when I spot her unmistakable, even though we've never met. Leora Thompson, her dark curls exactly as they appeared in Jasper's old Instagram photos, stands at the counter ordering coffee. My stomach knots. I consider leaving, slipping out before she notices me. But something roots me to my seat: curiosity, perhaps, or some final puzzle piece I need to find. When she turns, our eyes meet. Recognition flashes across her face. Jasper must have shown her my photos too. She hesitates, coffee in hand, clearly contemplating her escape route. I surprise myself by raising my hand in a small wave, then gesturing to the empty chair across from me. More surprising still is when she actually walks over and sits down. This is weird, she says, setting her cup down carefully. No pretense, no forced pleasantries. Completely weird. I agree, and somehow we both laugh. The initial awkwardness dissolves into something unexpected: understanding. We talk about Jasper, but not in the way I imagined. No competition, no comparison. We burned hot, Leora says, stirring her coffee absently. Passionate but volatile, more drama than actual love. She meets my eyes directly. He romanticizes intensity but can't handle genuine intimacy. What he wants and what he needs never align. Her words settle over me like puzzle pieces clicking into place. He admired your steadiness, she continues, but couldn't value what he truly needed. Something unwinds inside my chest, a final knot of doubt I hadn't realized was still there. 2 weeks later, I sit at a corner table in Erin's favorite restaurant, surrounded by friends celebrating her birthday. Dr. Friedman Michael sits beside me, our conversation flowing easily throughout dinner. When his hand brushes mine as he passes the bread basket, I feel that flutter of possibility. Would you like to get dinner sometime? He asks as we wait for our cars at the valet stand. The old Lola would have said yes automatically, flattered by his interest. The new one knows better. I'm focusing on myself right now, I tell him, but I'd like to be friends. Instead of disappointment, I see respect in his eyes. I'd like that too. On my apartment balcony that night, I watch the sunset paint the sky in watercolor strokes of pink and gold. The wedding planning binder sits open on my lap, its contents removed, replaced with career goals, certification plans, and notes from my mentoring sessions with Tessa, the new nurse who reminds me so much of myself 3 years ago. I open my journal and write, I'm not someone to settle for. I'm someone to choose with clarity, not compromise. As I close the journal, a peaceful smile settles on my face. Tomorrow stretches before me, undefined, unplanned, and entirely mine.